Hi, welcome back to Air Engine Research for an update on my 3-cylinder 2-cycle air engine. I'm still working on valving, trying to get something that would be simple and work very efficiently and not too hard to do. I've tried so far 3 different types of valving. The one that you see there is a double valve that I kind of modified after the valve that worked well on my 5-cylinder or 3-cylinder 5-cylinder air engine that I had my last session about. This one worked on paper, looked like real well, but when the time come to actually build it, I got it built okay. I got the parts like put together, but there's 2 of them. The 5-cylinder engine that I had, it worked off of the cylinder moving back and forth, which opened and closed the valve. But on this 2-plate engine, it rotates around and it has to have a cam that would open and close, and I ran into problems with being very involved in trying to do timing with it. This is the valve body and the little cam that I made that's supposed to operate the upper and lower valve as it rotates around the center of the air engine. I got it all put together, but timing was terrible. I had to move the valve body in and out to make contact with the cams, and then each cam, I found out, is going to have to be adjustable, that it can be rotated around, and it just turned into be such a problem that I don't like that valve and I don't want to use it. So my next thing that I wanted to try then was possibly using some ball valves. I've done that once before on an air opener for my garage door, and it worked real well. You take 2 valves and you turn them 90 degrees to each other on a T, and then you have to have linkage that would go from each of the 2 valves to make them work in unison, but they have to be adjusted so that there's a spot in the center that blocks the air or blocks the exhaust, and that's not a very large area, and it's pretty hard to get them all organized and coordinated along with the linkage. And then there's another one that has to hook to the center of that linkage and go to the drive of the air engine on a circular cam that pushes and pulls the linkage to open and close the ball valves. I can show you the video of it, but it's not working well at all. So it's too cumbersome, too complicated with trying to get all the linkages adjusted, and it also makes the air engine quite a bit larger than what I want, so I'm not going to use that. This will be as you can see, it works, but it's pretty involved, so I don't like that. The next thing that I'm going to go back to is the slider valve. That one works well. I've always had a problem. I can't get it to stop leaking with just buying pieces of metal and putting them together like I did. It's almost sealed, but under higher pressures it does leak, and for my purposes now, though, I just want to build the engine and get it to work and be able to put it on my lawnmower body and try to make it work. So here's the kind of a simple diagram of the slider valve. The top one is where the air comes in. The center slider is pushed forward, which lines up the air inlet hole and the hole that goes to the cylinder. The next one down is the exhaust, where the slider is pulled back. It blocks off the air inlet and it opens up the exhaust, which lets it exhaust. And the slider valve sits on top of the number one, or up on top of the cylinders, which in this case is a number one cylinder. And the slider is then attached to an arm that rotates around with the drive shaft. And this is, the next one will be a video of the air engine running. I just set it on the floor and kind of in an attempt to show you that it's well balanced. The torque on it wants to tend to turn it in a circle, but it does go okay. And at the very end you'll notice that it stops. The reason for that is that my valve was twisted on the top of the cylinder, and it killed the valve in and out action. But anyway, here's the valve in action. Doesn't go. Wonder why. Something is wrong somewhere, but I'm not sure what. Guess I'll have to maybe change that or start it. Okay, here we go. So, as you see, that was where the slider valve turned sideways and lost the control. So that's where it is for now, and I'm going to be trying to hook up the engine on my lawnmower before long and see if I can get it to run. The cylinder size right now is a 7/8 inch, so it's not going to have a whole lot of power. Later on it'll either be a 1 inch or an 1.1 or an 1.25 cylinder, depending on how much power it needs. But it'll be running probably 3 rotations of the engine to 1 tire rotation, which I think would be pretty good. But anyway, until next time, I hope you've enjoyed seeing the little bit of work that I've done, and if you care to subscribe, I'd appreciate it, and if so, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.